What's up, guys? Welcome back to another short sermon. Today's short sermon is going to be on guardrails and boundaries. We're going to be talking about what guardrails and boundaries are. These are two different things in our lives to prevent us from sin and wickedness. We're going to be going over the differences between guardrails and boundaries, talking about what they are and different guardrails and boundaries we can set up in our own lives. So we're going to be starting in the life of Joseph in Genesis chapter 39. Now Joseph had been brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guard, an Egyptian, had bought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him down there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man, and he was in the house of his Egyptian master. His master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord had caused all he did to succeed in his hands. So Joseph found favor in his sight, and attended him. And he had made him the overseer of his house, and put him in charge of all that he had. From that time that he made him overseer in his house, and over all he had, the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. The blessing of the Lord was on all he had in his house and his field. So he left all that he had in Joseph's charge, and because of him he had no concern about anything except for the food that he ate. Now Joseph was handsome in form and appearance, and after a time his master's wife cast her eyes on Joseph and said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said to his master's wife, "Behold, because of my master has no concern about anything in the house, and he has put everything that he has in my charge. He is not greater than you. He is not greater in this house than I am, nor has kept anything back from me except for you, because you are his wife. How then can I do this wicked thing against God?" Right, so this is a boundary, right? We see that Joseph has set boundaries in his life. Boundaries can be anything. Boundaries are set up by you. You decide what your boundaries are. You decide, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that, right? It can be, I'm not going to go to that party. I'm not going to go to that event. I'm not going to be going to that concert where they're playing worldly music, right? It can be not watching certain types of things, not listening to certain types of things. It can be so many things. What are your boundaries going to be that you set in place that say, no, I'm not going to do this. And you have to make that boundary. You have to know where that boundary is, because if you don't identify where that boundary is, you're going to go across it without realizing it, because it's not set in place. If there's no law set in place, you're not going to know, well, like, where's the line? Set that line, set that boundary that I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. Our second passage is going to be from 1 Samuel chapter 24. This is in the life of David. Right now, David is on the run from Saul. Saul is chasing him down, right? Saul is given the location of David. He's like, okay, I'm going to go to where David is, where he was last seen, right? I'm going to go and kill him. In verse 3, "And he came to the sheepfolds by the way where there was a cave, and Saul went in to relieve himself. Now David and his men were sitting in the inmost parts of the cave. And the men of David said to him, 'Here is the day of the Lord. Behold, I will give you your enemy into your hand, and you shall do to him as shall seem good to you.' Then David arose and stealthily cut off a corner of Saul's robe. And afterwards David's heart struck him," right? His conscience struck him, right? This is the first guardrail we're going to talk about. Right, so guardrails. What are the guardrails in our lives? Well, we actually get this idea of guardrails from the book of Romans. In Romans chapter 1, starting in verse 21. "For although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images resembling mortal man, and birds and animals of creeping things. Right? So God gave them to the lusts of their passions. So guardrails these aren't things that we put in place. These are things that God has put in place. And he's given us 4 main guardrails that I'm going to talk about. The first one is conscience. Now, this is the one David had, right? This is on a personal level. You have a personal conviction where you're about to do something and your conscience strikes you and you go, I shouldn't do that. Now, the second guardrail is family. This is it's an inner circle guardrail, right? What does I think it's Joshua say, as for me and my house, as for me and my house. So your family can prevent you from falling into wicked things. Right. And then we have a third guardrail, which is government. And government has been set in place by God. Now, I'm not talking about what corrupted government. I'm talking about the true government that God put in place, where it's to praise goodness and to prevent evil, right? That's where we get like our prison systems, where they're meant to, like our police force, where they're meant to stop evil. And then the fourth guardrail is an international guardrail, which is the church. This is God's guardrail that he has put in place. Sorry about that little pause. I had to pause the video. I don't know if you could tell, but I just started bleeding as I was filming. Right? There's a little bit on my notes. Just a few dots, nothing crazy. There's like 3 dots, 4. But continuing, I'm gonna continue this teaching real quick. But so God has given us these 4 guardrails in everyone's lives, right? You have a personal, close circle like family, a national, and an international. And these guardrails are pure, but they can become corrupt. Like it was saying in Romans, right? Their hearts were corrupted. And corruption doesn't just happen. It happens slowly, right? A lot of people will say, oh, it happens suddenly. No, it doesn't happen suddenly. It happens steadily. But then when you notice it, it's a sudden notice, right? That, oh, this is completely in the wrong direction, right? And it's a slow first level is tolerant, then you become accepting, and then you start to actually praise it, right? And it's a little more, and that little more can build up into your conscience as seared or corrupted. Right, and this can happen with conscience. This can happen with family. This can happen with government, and unfortunately, it can also even happen with the church. This is why we see so many false churches today, is because they have been corrupted. Right, but as a believer, God can warn you through His Holy Spirit or conscience. He can warn you through close family. He can warn you through others. He can warn you through the government. He can warn you through the church. He can warn you through prophets. But for the unbeliever, they have a conscience, right? They have the same guardrails. It looks a little different, and it's easier to become corrupted because you don't have the Holy Spirit guiding you. Right? I guess I shouldn't say joke, but right, you don't just wake up and become a murderer. No, what happens is you start small. You start with random outbursts of anger, or just bullying, beating people up, right? And it grows more and more and more until you get to the point where you start um, actually uh, doing crazy things, but it seems normal to you because your conscience has been so sheared, it's been so corrupted. And that's what can happen with our conscience. That can happen in our family, that can happen in government, right? We can become so corrupted that the stuff we normalize is actually not normal at all, right? Think about the world today. How many things do people normalize that 10, 15 years ago would have been insane, right? Because what happens is, oh, you just have to tolerate it. You just have to tolerate. You don't have to believe it, but just tolerate. Just accept. Just allow them. I shouldn't say accept yet. And then just accept them. Oh, what's wrong with them? We should accept them, right? And that slowly builds up until we start praising them. It's like, oh, wow, these people are amazing. No. You're becoming corrupt. You're leading yourself into sin. This was always evil. And now we look like the strange people because we don't accept it. Like, why can't you be like everyone else and accept it? No, because it's not supposed to be accepted. It was never supposed to be accepted, but we've been so corrupted that we accept it. Right? And this is why it's so important that we need to not corrupt the guardrails God has given us, but also we need to have our own boundaries. That even when our family is corrupted, even when our government is corrupted, even when there are churches that are corrupted, what am I going to do? Right? As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. I don't care what y'all doing. I'm serving the Lord. Right? So thank you all so much for your patience. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope you learn from this. And if you want to dive deeper into this, I'm sure you can find story after story in the Bible of people using boundaries, people using God's guardrails, right? But thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys next time.